Hello students and welcome to this video on transitions and flow. In this video we're going to show you how to achieve mastery on this part of the rubric. So let's take a look at why we would use transitions.
You could think of transitions as kind of like the seasons. Can you imagine if we went from 90-degree summer weather in July to boom, zero weather and snow with no transition of fall? So we could think of your transitions as you're writing as kind of like the transition of spring and fall and what they do to the seasons. The transition seasons of spring and fall help nature prepare for the harshness of coldness and of winter and the hot of summer. And so in writing, transitions prepare the reader in that same way for what is to come by connecting ideas. Transitions turn disconnected writing into a unified whole.
So when do you use transitions? Well, good writers will use transitions to connect paragraphs. So a topic sentence, as we oftentimes call it. So the first sentence of a new paragraph should always be a transition.
But transitions can also be used throughout the body paragraph, and they're really important in helping you link your evidence to your analysis or your ideas. When you use transitions correctly, you're trying to get the reader to think the way you think. So you're almost putting the reader, putting ideas into the reader's mind so that the reader starts to interpret the information that you're providing the way you want the reader to interpret it.
So Mrs. VJ put this picture of transition lenses in. I imagine that's where you got it from.
Yep.
So it really helps, using transition will help you achieve your goal of being clear, concise, and really helping the reader understand what you're trying to say.
Kind of like this person, as it gets brighter out, the lenses are transitioning.
Yep. Okay, so here's a sample that I'll read to you, and this sample doesn't have any transitions in it. So listen to how choppy and sort of, I don't know, basic the writing sounds. Students who write academic essays need to provide effective transitions. Transitions allow writers to connect the main ideas that are present in an essay. Use conjunction adverbs and other introductory elements allow a writer to connect one sentence to the next. The use of these words will make the writing more fluent and less choppy. Many students fail to use effective transitions and the essay comes across as disconnected. Writers should always be aware of the need to connect both sentences and paragraphs together.
Now let's take a look at what this paragraph looks like when it has transitions in it. So here's the same sample paragraph where I've included some transitions to help the flow of the paragraph. Students who write academic essays need to provide effective transitions. It is the use of these transitions that allow writers to connect the main ideas they are presenting in an essay. For example, by using conjunctive adverbs and other introductory elements, a writer can easily connect one sentence to the next. Moreover, the use of these words will make the writing more fluent and less choppy. Unfortunately, students often fail to use effective transitions and, as a result, the essay comes across as disconnected. To avoid this, writers should always be aware of the need to connect both sentences and paragraphs together, as they should strive to find creative ways to do so. So you could see where I've added several transitions throughout this paragraph, and the transitions allow the paragraph to flow more smoothly.
It was actually even hard for me to read this paragraph out loud, like even just to try and read it, and like I struggled to read it out loud just because it was hard for me to understand what was happening, whereas this one makes so much more sense just because of those words in the blue that are the transition statements or words.
So when you're writing, we want you to be aware of your transitions, and here we've given you a list of transitions to help you along the way. I notice a lot of times when people are using their transitions in their writing, you're using a lot of generic like firstly, secondly, in conclusion. Here's a list of some additional transitions you can use to try to make your writing more fluent. And what we'd like you to do is not only do we want you to try to include transitions throughout your paragraphs and your introduction, but we want you to start to become more crafty with your transitions and more creative with the transitions you use.
So here's a couple. If you're going to do cause and effect, consequently, so, therefore, additional support, additionally, in addition to, equally important. So like depending on what the purpose of the writing is, you could pick one from these different categories. It's a little bit better than firstly, secondly, etc.
Okay.
So good luck in your transitions. For mastery, we would expect to see these transitions used effectively in your writing, throughout your piece.
Good.